Hi there, I'm Michelle the Painter from Berkshire Paint and Sip, and this is Paint and Sip at Home. Alright, so today I'm going to be painting Cardinal and Snowman, and I'm sipping on some hot cocoa. And if you enjoy this process, I do hope that you like and subscribe to my channel, and that you also check out my Patreon page where you're going to find additional painting perks. So let's get painting and let's get sipping. Alright, so for my materials today, I'm going to be using a stretched and primed 16 by 20 inch canvas. If you're painting along with me, you can certainly switch up the size, but that's what I'll be using. I'm going to be using acrylic paint today. My colors are titanium white, burnt umber, which I like to call brown, cobalt blue, Mars black, chrome orange, chrome yellow, and fire red. And of course you can switch up those colors if you like, but that's what I'll be using. For my tools today, I have a white piece of chalk that I'll be using for some drawing. And then I have 3 brushes. I have a 3/4 inch wide flat bristle brush. I have a number 6 round synthetic brush. And I have a number 1 round synthetic brush, and I'll refer to these as small, medium, and large as we go through the painting process. And of course you can switch those up as well if you'd like. If you're painting along with me, you'll probably want to have a cup of water for washing your brushes, as well as a paper towel for drying your brushes. Oh, my paper towel's already dirty, great. So I will also be providing you with a couple of additional resources that you can find down in the video description below. They can help you through your painting process. One of them is a link where you can purchase the same exact paint kit that I'm using, from the same size and type of canvas to the same type of paints and brushes and all the good stuff in between. So that's there. There's also a link where you can download a free image of the final painting. So you can print that and use it as visual reference as you go through the painting process. And there's also written step-by-step instructions down there for you as well. And that's all we're going to need today. Alright, so what we're going to do for the first step is we're going to be painting the background. I'm going to be using my large brush to paint, but I'm going to use my medium brush to just give you a little demonstration on a custom color that I'm going to mix. So I'm going to be using a nice soft kind of dark blue at the top of the canvas, and I'm going to fade it down into a lighter blue. The colors I'm going to use are black, blue, and white. And what I'm going to do is I'm pre-mixing myself a custom blue. So this is the color right here that I'm going for. It's really just a nice dark but soft kind of blue, which means that it's not as vibrant as my cobalt blue. So what I did was I took my cobalt blue and then I added a little bit of black and a little bit of white. So I'm in essence desaturating my blue, which means I'm taking the saturation of the pigment, I'm making it a little bit duller. So I just spun my canvas so this wouldn't slide, or my palette so it wouldn't slide off, but we'll just keep turning it around so it doesn't slide off. So that's kind of the color I'm going for, maybe a little bit more black in there, just make it a little bit darker. So I'm making my blue less vibrant and a little bit more of a soft, darker blue. So that's the color I'm going for. So once you've got that mixed in, what you're gonna do is take the large or a large brush. I'm going to start at the top with my custom blue. I'm going to be going in a left to right type of a brush stroke. I'll bring this down probably about a third of the way down my canvas, and then I'm going to start intermingling it with white, because what I'm looking for is a gradient that's going to get lighter and lighter as it comes down my canvas. So I'm just going left to right to kind of get this on here. I'm almost about a third of the way down, and once I get about a third of the way down, I will just start intermingling white with it. So I'm about there now. So now I'm going to pick up white plus my custom blue, about equal parts of both on my brush at the same time. I'm going to cross it over into that upper area just to get them to start to blend. And now I'm just going to pick up more of my custom blue, but also more white. So a little bit less of the custom blue and more white. And after I do this pass, I will only be picking up white on my brush as I go down towards the bottom of my canvas, because I want to have a nice kind of commanding, I guess, gradient as I'm going down my canvas, so it gets pretty light as it goes down towards the bottom. So now I'm going to pick up white without washing my brush. So what'll happen now is that custom color or that custom blue will work its way off of my brush as I'm working my way down towards the bottom of the canvas. So again, this is just going to create a nice blend as it's going down towards the bottom. And if yours goes lighter than mine or darker than mine, it's okay. I'm just going for something that's going to show some nice atmospheric dimension behind my snowman. This is really just intended to be some nice wintry kind of background atmosphere for the painting, so you can really have whatever kind of color combination that you like. And then I'm just going to kind of crisscross and get these to blend in. And then when I feel like I'm pretty well blended, we are going to be using our piece of chalk for the next step. So if you felt that you wanted to do another layer on here, feel free to do so. I think I'm just going to kind of ride with mine the way that it is because I'm kind of digging my gradient that I have going on. And then what I'll do is I will put this large brush away, take out my piece of chalk, and get ready for the next step. All right, so what we're going to do for the next step is we're going to be drawing an outline for our snowman and our bird. I'm going to be using my chalk to do so. You could certainly use any kind of drawing utensil that you'd like, but I do want to forewarn you that before you start this step that you make sure your canvas is dry. So this is that time where you get to take an extra long break if you'd like to, or you can find some kind of fun fanning method to get it dry, or you can do as I did and just whip out a blow dryer and get it dry that way. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to guide you through a series of markers. We're going to make some real basic shapes that we'll be able to utilize during the coloring in process when we paint. So no fine-tuned detail here, just some nice basic shapes. So what we're going to first do is we're going to build the balls of our snowman. So we're going to make a big, huge snowball for his head. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to find myself about halfway up or down my right-hand side. And then I'm going to go, I would say, about 3 inches above that. So somewhere in here is where I'm going to make my marker for my snowball. And then down at the bottom, I'm going to come to the right maybe about 2 inches, somewhere in through here. I'm going to connect these two with a big circle type shape. So something like this will give me my snowman head. Then what I'm going to do is I'm going to come up the left side of here, and I'm just going to give myself a little piece that kind of kicks out. So now that I have the head, I want to put the hat on. So I'm going to find myself about the halfway point on the right hand side of my canvas, somewhere about, I would say, I think this is about the halfway point, somewhere in through there. And then that's going to be the kind of the bottom rim of it. I'm going to make the point or the tip of my hat. If I find myself about the center of my canvas, I'm going to come to the left of that about 2.5 inches, and then down about 3.5 inches, somewhere in through there. I'm going to connect these two markers with a nice kind of wavy line. So I'm going to just take this and I'm going to give myself this nice wavy line in through here, bring it up something like this, and then just kind of, well, I guess I went past my marker, somewhere in through there will work just fine. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring this into here, but I want to kind of give myself the top part of the hat. So I'm going to come from here, the top of the center. I'm going to go to the right almost a quarter of the way. So this is about a quarter of the way. I'm a little bit shy of that. And then I'm going to come down a little bit lower than my rim. So somewhere about here. I'll give myself a little bit of a wavy kind of a line. Maybe bring this in just a little bit more, something like that. Chalk is great to erase, so something like that. And then I'll connect here to over here. So I'm going to, again, just kind of give myself a wavy type of line. I think I want to go maybe a little lower than that, right here. So then I'm going to just kind of connect these with a nice kind of wavy line, maybe bring this up and a bump in through here. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to put a big old carrot on my head. So about halfway up or down your head, somewhere about here is where I'm going to put my carrot. So I'm going to have a little marker in through here for the top and the bottom, and then the point of my carrots come in way over here. And then I'm just going to connect these with a nice wavy line, making my carrot kind of pointy at the tip. You can certainly have any size or shape carrot that you'd like. Maybe you want to make this into a branch instead of a carrot. That'll be totally up to you. Then I'm going to make my bird. So I love to teach birds with two basic shapes, an egg for the body and a circle for the head. So we're going to put the body on first, which is going to be an egg. I'm going to have my egg type shape. If this is about halfway in my carrot, I'm maybe 1.5 inches away to the left of that, and then maybe about 3 inches above that. That's going to be the top of my egg. And then the tip of my egg, I'm going to travel down past my carrot, maybe about 1/2 inch to 1 inch, and then I'm going to go to the right of that, about 1 inch. I want my egg to be a little skewed, where the point is a little bit to the right. So the bird looks nice and kind of off to the side. So like this and like this. I'm going to skip my carrot, and I'm going to come down and meet that point down in through there. So something like that. I'm going to give myself a little tail. So the tail is going to come off of here, just in this direction, and just give myself a little jaggedy bottom to it. And then I'm going to make my circle. So my circle is going to be about the center of the top, somewhere in through here, but to the left of the point down here. So somewhere about here, I'm going to make myself a circle that's going to overlap my my egg a little bit. Then I can connect this back section, which is the back of the neck, with a little bit of a curved line in through there. I'm going to put just the tip of the beak in through here. The rest of the beak will end up in the face, but we just need the little tip for now. And then I'm going to give myself a little crown up in through here. Again, just a little bit to let me know where I'm going. And that's all I'm going to be doing for my outline. We're going to be using our large brush for the next step. So you can put your chalk away, take out your large brush, and get ready for the next step. All right, so what we're going to do for the next step is we're going to do the base coat for our snowman and his hat, or her hat. I guess when you call it a snowman, it should be maybe it's a snow girl. I'm going to use my large brush. I'm going to be using black, brown, and white. And what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to be adding some shadowy areas underneath my hat, down kind of on the back side of the head, maybe a little bit down in the neck area. And I'm going to make the front part of my snow face light. And then we're going to do a base coat of black on the hat. So I'm going to start with a little bit of, I'm going to be using my large brush, and black, brown, and white are going to be my colors. So I'm going to start with black, brown, and white, all three colors on my brush, just a little bit of each. I'm going to start with this dabbing or stippling type of brush stroke. I'm going to be bringing it around the edges, underneath my hat, in through here. I'm even going to bring it down that face a little bit, because I know that this hat could be shadowing the face or the top part of the head for my snowman. So I'm starting it like that. I am going to bring a little bit of this down at the bottom in through here as well. Now, without washing my brush, I'm going to pick up white paint. And what this is going to do, I'm going to continue with this dabbing or dotting type of brush work. What's going to happen is the paint is going to get lighter and lighter, because I'm only going to keep picking up white as I go farther and farther towards the front of the face. And as I'm doing this, I am backing it into the previous section. I am mindful that I want this to stay dark, but I don't need it super duper dark, so I just kind of went over it just a little bit with my lighter tone that is being created on my brush as I'm going through this process. I'm going to kind of tap over in through here so this doesn't just look like a solid line, and then I'm just going to keep picking up my white on my dirty brush. And again, this is going to get lighter and lighter as I go over towards the front of the face. So I love doing this kind of textural effect, especially when I'm doing a snowman, because I want him to look like he's got, you know, lots of fluff to him and lots of texture in that snow. So this is a great way to just kind of incorporate those elements with an easy, maybe 1 or 2 step process. So I'm going to get this on here, and I'm just going to kind of maybe let my brush run out of paint at this point, and just kind of keep tapping, overlapping my sections. I might amp up the shadow a little bit later after it's dried. I know I'm going to be adding more details onto the face. later. So if this does not turn out perfect right now, don't worry about it. We've got another step that will be coming that will help to make this into any, you know, more detailed if you want. I'm adding just a little bit more white on my brush just to get a little bit more of this bright texture in this main part of the face. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to wash and dry my brush so I can do the base coat for my hat. So my hat I'm just going to do with black paint because I know that I'm going to have some highlights and shadows which are going to give it some shape. So right now, if I can ever stop this, I'm going to. I swear I'm going to stop. I know I am. I'm going to wash and dry my brush now, and I'm going to add black to my brush. So just black paint is going to be the base coat for the hat. I don't need to do any special brush stroke for this. I'm just coloring it in. So I'm just bringing it all the way to my chalk mark. And if your shape gets your hat gets reshaped during this process, don't worry about it. This was just intended to be a nice, fun kind of floppy sort of hat. Yours might end up looking way different, or maybe yours ends up looking exactly like mine. Whatever happens, happens. You can certainly make it into whatever style that you would like. And I'm just going to bring this all the way over. I am going to overlap the head a little bit, where we did that shadowy area. So that way it looks like the hat is in front of the shadowy area. And even if your paint is a little bit wet on that head, that's okay. Just paint it right in. And if you have little chalk marks that are still visible after this step, like I have this little one here that I'm not sure if I want my hat, well, we'll just make my hat go up that way. It'll be snow on top of it later. So if it shapes in a way that you don't want, you can always hide it with snow later. And then we're going to be using our medium brush for the next step. So once you've got this done, you can put your large brush away, take out your medium brush, and get ready for the next step. All right, so what we're going to do for the next step is we're going to do the base coat for our bird and our carrot. I'm going to be using my medium brush. The colors I'm using are red and orange. So I'm going to do my bird first. The bird is a little bit more tricky than my carrot because I'm going to do a little bit of soft edges around some of the areas. For the main part of the bird, I'm going to just be doing a layer of red paint. Even the beak, I can use red paint just as my base coat for the beak because these beaks can come in all different kinds of colors. So I'm just going to use red as my base. But when I get up towards the top of the head where the crown is, I don't necessarily want a solid coat of paint on the edges. So as I color this in, get a little bit more paint on my brush. As I color this in, I'm going to go to my chalk mark and then I'm going to bring it out in these little, just kind of quick strokes to get the little tips of that crown to appear. And I'm not concerned about any chalk marks showing because I will be able to erase those with a bit of water. I'd rather have these nice kind of fluffy edges to my bird than to have like a solid line in there trying to make sure that I have my, in an effort to make sure that I had my chalk mark covered. So you can always paint or erase the chalk mark. When I get to where the carrot is, I'm not terribly concerned about the brush stroke. Just want to make sure that I get a layer of red down in through there. The next area that I'm going to be kind of concerned or slowing down a little bit is these edges. So the right edge and the left edge, especially when it passes the carrot down below, because I want there to, for me, you don't need to do this, but I want there to look like there's just a little tip to a wing. So I just brought down a little extra kind of mark down in through there. You definitely don't need to do that, but I thought it would be a fun little, just tiny little detail that, just helps to sell the story. I'm going to do the same thing over on this side, so I'm just bringing my red all the way down to my carrot. And you're not going to get a perfect coverage on the red right now. This is, again, just intended to be the base coat. So then once I pass the carrot here, you can bring down just a little tip into there, and it'll just give you the little tip to maybe those side wings. And then when I come down the tail, I'm just going to bring this straight down. And then when I get down to the tip of the tail, I'll do something similar to what I did on the crown, which is just leave myself these kind of jagged edges, so it's not a solid stripe or a block down at the bottom. So something like this, it'll give me a nice kind of natural little appearance to it. And then I'm going to wash and dry my brush, and I'm going to load it with orange paint, because I'm going to use orange as my base coat for the carrot, which totally makes sense. So it's going to be a little unusual of a color because it's going to be on top of blue. So I washed and dried my brush, and I'm going to put orange on here. Because I have a blue base underneath it, if I thin it out, it may end up looking a little green. So don't be alarmed if that happens, because we're going to be doing more than one coat on this. So if it's too green for you right now, know that we will get that to go away during the future steps. And let it be bumpy. Let it be, you know, the carrot with the most character that got, you know, disregarded in the refrigerator and nobody wanted to eat it. So we're putting it out on the snowman. Let it be lumpy and bumpy and have little, you know, have a lot of character to it. It'll be the most interesting carrot in the playground, in the snow playground. And then I'm just bringing this all the way to here. And again, if you bring it all the way to your chalk, great. If not, no worries. When you go to meet the face, I'm just going to give it a little bumpy edge. We're going to put a little bit of snow covering that edge, but just so I don't have a straight line, just give it a little bit of a bump. And then we're going to be using our medium brush for the next step. So once you've got this done, you can wash and dry this medium brush and get ready for the next step. All right, so what we're going to do for the next step is we're going to do the facial features. I'm going to be using my medium brush. The colors I'm going to use are black and white. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to put a base coat on my eye with black, and while that's drying, we'll do an eyebrow and a mouth, and then we'll come back and do some details on the eye. So I'm going to put some black paint on my medium brush. You can use a little bit of liquid medium or water or something on your brush to allow yourself to have some nice fluid type of brush strokes. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to the right of my carrot nose, maybe about an inch, inch and a half. I'm going to give myself a curved line, which will be, we'll call it like the upper part of the cheek or the bottom part of the eye, something like that. Just give myself a nice kind of loose curve. And then I'm going to give myself an oval type of a shape for the eye above it. So I'm going to just give myself a nice kind of oval type of a shape like that. And then I'm going to color it in with black paint. You don't need to do anything fancy, just kind of give it a good coverage with some black paint. I'm using a thin coat though, so you don't have to go with a heavy coat, because I'm just going to be adding my details on in a short minute, so you don't necessarily need it to be really thick, just something that will cover that area in through here. And so I just kind of thin it out so it dries quickly. So then I'm going to reload my brush with some black paint. I'm going to give myself a really cute eyebrow, maybe a kind of a curious kind of eyebrow. So I'm going to start somewhere in through here, push my brush a little hard, and then just kind of swipe it back down towards the back side of the eye. You could certainly do any type of eyebrow that you want. You could make them surprised, or he looks kind of curious to me, but you could make yours whatever way you want. I'm going to put the mouth on, so I'm going a little bit below my carrot, maybe by, you know, somewhere between the carrot and the neck area. And I'm just going to give myself kind of like a sketcherly type of mouth. You could certainly give yours, you know, buttons or pebbles or something for the mouth. I'm just choosing to do like a nice dark kind of sketcherly type of marks for mine. You can do whatever you want. And then a little grin on the corner of the mouth. Then I'm going to wash and dry my brush, and I'm going to work on my eye. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to pick up a tiny bit of white, just a little bit on the tip of my brush, and just a teeny tiny bit of black. So I have very little bit of both on the tip of my brush. I'm going to put like a gray type of glossy, shiny part on the eye. So I'm going to start somewhere in this vicinity right here, and I'm going to give it a nice quick curved swipe with both of these colors on my brush. So something like this, and if you want to do it, there you go. I did it more than once. I've got it a little bit bigger at the top and then just give it a little bit more shallow at the bottom. Then I'm going to wipe my brush off on my paper towel, pick up some white paint. I'm going to give myself the white of the eye on this back side in through here. So I'm going to have it nice and kind of slender up at the top, and then I'll get it to go a little bit wider as it comes down towards the towards that cheeky part. So something like this, and it doesn't have to be super white. So I'm just using a thin coat, so it almost ends up seeing some of that black underneath it, and it makes it look a little bit more realistic as far as realistic snowmen go, as opposed to it being super duper bright white. Then I'm going to pick up real white without washing my brush, but I picked up some bright white, and I'm going to do some real bright twinkle dots. So I'm just going to do maybe 3 or 4 very bright kind of dots going like that, and that'll just give sparkle to the eye. And that's all I'm going to be doing. I'll be using my I'm going to use my medium brush for the next step. So once you get this done, you can wash and dry your medium brush and get ready for the next step. All right, so what we're going to do for the next step is we're going to finish our carrot. I'm going to be using my medium brush. The colors I'm going to use are black, brown, orange, yellow, and white. And what I'm really going to do is just put a lot of darkness down at the bottom of the carrot and pull it up in kind of a curved manner, so it makes the carrot look like it's round and has some texture to it. And then I'll put some highlight on the top and bring it down, pull that highlight down so it makes it looks like it's illuminated at the top, and we're going to get some good form on our carrot. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start with a little bit of black and brown on my brush at the same time. I'm going to start at the bottom of my carrot, and I'm going to bring this really kind of messy along the bottom edge of my carrot. And every now and again, I'm just going to kind of pull up a little bit of this darkness. So you can make it as dark as you want or as light as you want, whatever is floating your boat and is making your visual painterly eye happy. I'm going to bring some of this darkness down in this back side of the carrot as well, down in through here. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to start picking up, I'm wiping my brush off on my paper towel, picking up some brown paint, and then I'm just going to kind of, the brown is going to be more transparent than the brown and the black, so this is giving me a progressive way to get lighter and lighter as I'm coming up that carrot. And again, doesn't have to be perfect, you just want something that's going to give you that transition. Now I'm going to wash and dry my brush, and I'm going to put orange on my brush. So I washed and dried my brush, and I put orange on there, and I'm going to start connecting this lighter area at the top with the darker area at the bottom. So I'm just really using orange as kind of my mid-tone in the middle of my carrot, and then just bringing it down into that shadow that we just created. So I'm putting a second layer on the majority of the carrot, something like that. Now, without washing my brush, I'm going to pick up yellow and white. So I have orange, yellow, and white on my brush at the same time. This is going to give me my bright highlight at the top. So I'm going to be putting a bright highlight in through here. I'm just kind of skipping it along, so I have some areas that are brighter than others. Just giving myself some real unevenness to this highlight, maybe a little bit more white on this little tip in through here. And then what I'm going to do, I just wipe my brush off, and I can start pulling this highlight down the carrot, and it's going to intermingle with that orange that we put on a minute ago. So this is just a fun, quick way to add some good highlight up at the top, give some good dimension in the carrot. I'm pulling it down in kind of a little bit of a curved way, so you've got some bumps, lumps, and bumps on your carrot, and you can certainly add more. I'm picking up a little bit more yellow and white so I can get a little bit brighter up in through here, so we definitely have some dimension to it. So the more lightness that you put, especially on this top, the more it's going to look like it's being illuminated by something, and it's going to have some form to it. And then I just kind of keep fiddling with it, and then when you feel like you're all done, we are going to be using our large brush for let's use our large brush let's use what brush do I want to use? We're going to use our medium brush for the next step. So you can finish your carrot, wash and dry your medium brush, and get ready for the next step. All right, so what we're going to do for the next step is we're going to finish the hat. I'm going to be using my medium brush. I'm going to be using black and white. And really what I'm looking to do is add strategic highlights that are going to allow the rim of my hat to pop out and make it look kind of floppy and make it look like the hat kind of dips in where the rim meets the top of the hat. And then we'll put a little form on the top part of the hat so it looks like it is going around the snowman's hat or head, or at least it's got some shape to it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put some black and white about equal parts on my brush at the same time. And I'm going to kind of decide where I want the separation to go from the top to the bottom. So I want mine to have some kind of curve to it. So what I'm going to do, I'm putting my black and white in through here, and then I'm just going to kind of loosely give myself kind of a curved type of line in through there, and then I just kind of rub it out a little bit. I don't need any firm lines on this particular step. What I am going to do is where I have the hat bump out or bump up on the rim, those are going to be lighter areas. So if I've got a light color combination on my brush, I can go right into that area and make that pretty darn light. And what's going to happen is that part of the hat is going to pop out. If I want the rim, the edge to pop out a little bit more, I can add more lightness in that area as well. So you're using a variety of gray tones on this hat in order to give it shape. So I just put more black and white on my brush. I want this part up in through here to pop out quite a bit. And this front part can certainly pop out a lot because it is, you know, close to us, and it's being illuminated by whatever the light in the sky is. So you can certainly have fun with that. I am going to leave a little bit of a black edge so it looks like there's a little bit of a lip or edge to the hat. But again, the lighter areas are going to indicate that the hat is popping out a little bit more. So I'm just going to kind of bump this a little bit more in through here, maybe get this a little bit lighter. And if you ever do anything where you're like, wow, that's just a little bit too light for me, just bring back some of the black. That's a beautiful part about doing this kind of step, is the black is so forgiving, and you can really just at any time bring some of it back in order to dull an area back down or make it recede. So I'm picking up a tiny bit of black right now just to make sure that I get these two to talk well together. And again, just black and white are my color combinations right now. I've got them both back on my brush right now, and just kind of tweaking that tonal shift from my light area to my dark area to make sure that it pops out as much as I want it to. And then I'll do the same thing on the top of the hat where it is going to, I want it to pop out a little bit to show the form. So I'm going to have a little bit in the front, so black and white, and just a little bit on your brush. You can always add more paint, but again, this is a black background, so it's easy to correct it too. I'm going to put a little bit brightness right in through here, and I'm going to rub it as if it's kind of going around the head. So I'm going to be the brightest in through here, and then I will rub it out till it kind of dissipates or disappears over in this area over in through here. And you can of course make yours go whatever which way that you want. I'm going to put maybe a little tiny bit of a highlight up in through here so it looks like maybe the top has a little illumination. And we're going to be putting snow on this too, so that's another great detail that could help to disguise things. I'm putting a little bit more black on my brush just so I can get this little section here to just blend just a touch more. There we go. And then of course you can do any little modifications and tweaks that you want. And we're going to be using our small brush for the next step. So you can finish up your hat, put your medium brush away, take out your small brush, and get ready for the next step. All right, so what we're going to do for the next step is we're going to finish our bird face. I'm going to be using my small brush. The colors I'm using are black, white, yellow, maybe some red. If I use any other colors, I'll let you know. So what I'm going to first do is I'm going to kind of separate the beak from the face, and I'm going to be doing that with black. So how I like to kind of build these birds. Well, I guess I build them different ways, but I definitely, when I'm going for the face, like to kind of separate that beak out from the rest of the face, because I know the beak is going to be a light color and the surrounding it is a nice dark black. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take from where my beak kind of starts to protrude out my face, and I'm going to bring this just down in kind of a diagonal kind of a way. Where my beak meets that forehead, I'm going to bring that over in kind of like a curved type of way and just bring it down and meet that little mark that I just made. And it doesn't have to be perfect, just something that works for you. Then I'm going to use that black to make all the little feathery information around that beak. So they've got little black feathers underneath their chin. You can bring these little black feathers into their neck, and you don't have to do it 100%. You can leave a little bit of that red peeking through. That's going to make it look like it's got some dimension to it. You can even put a little bit of water on your brush. As I'm coming up this left-hand side, my eye is going to be in here. So I'm going to just kind of outline where I want my eye to go, so I know I give myself a little bit of a barrier. I'm going to put little tiny feathers all around that, put some coming in through here where it's going to meet that beak, and give myself a little, almost little fluffy area around the eyes. Some of these birds have almost like a mask of sorts that goes past that eye into the side of their head. So if you wanted to put that, that's fine. I'm going to bring a little bit of this black right above the beak in through here, just a little bit of black right above, like that. This is looking pretty cute. I'm going to bring this all the way in through here. I think I'm going to just kind of lighten that up a little bit. And then I'm going to just give myself the black eye, but you can leave a little bit of the evidence of the, you know, of it, the edges of it. So when we go to put the colors on, you'll have somewhere to, a little bit of a barrier. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to put some water on my brush. So I have a little bit of black plus a tiny bit of water. I'm going to give myself the separation from the top part of the beak to the bottom part of the beak. So I like to kind of do this in a little bit of a squiggly line. So I kind of went up and then back down and maybe a little bit. I don't need it to be too strong, so that's why I used a little bit of water in it. And then you can also, with that little bit of water on your brush, kind of put a little shadow at the bottom of that beak. Now I'm going to pick up a tiny bit of white paint on my dirty brush. So I have white and black on my brush. I'm going to give myself a little bit of a light area at the bottom of my eye in through here. So it's almost like a grayish color I'm kind of using. And I just use this gray gently around that eye. Now I'm going to pick up a tiny bit of white and give myself a tiny little sparkle in my eye towards the right hand side. So just a little tiny sparkle like that. Now I'm going to wash and dry my brush, and I'm going to work on my beak. So my beak, I just want it to be pretty similar to my carrot, where it's light at the top and maybe has a little bit more vibrancy in the middle of it. So I'm going to start with some red, yellow, and white on my brush. And I'm using a tiny brush, so I only need a teeny tiny bit. I'm going to put this right at the top of my beak in through here. So it's red, yellow, and white on my brush. And I'm going to reload so I can get it a little bit brighter. So red, yellow, and white. Just give myself a nice brightness at the top edge of that beak in through here. And then what I'll do is I'm going to get it to just kind of fade down that beak. Now I'm going to pick up on my dirty brush a little bit of red. So this is going to just get it to fade down onto the darker side. You can certainly make your beak more orange. You could even pick up the orange if you want. I'm just going to pick up more yellow to get it to blend in a little bit more. So red, yellow, and white are the color combinations that I'm using. Maybe a little bit more on this side of the yellow just to get it to pop out a little bit more. And then you just fiddle with it. As it's drying, you can add more brightness. I think I'm going to add a tiny bit more on the tip of the nose, on the tip of the beak, I should say, somewhere in through there. And then as it's drying, if you want to add more or subtract, feel free to do so. And then we're going to be using our medium brush for the next step. So once you've got your little bird face done, you can put your small brush away, take out your medium brush, and get ready for the next step. All right, so what we're going to do for the next step is we're going to finish our bird feathers. I'm going to be using my medium brush. The colors I'm going to use are black, red, yellow, and white. I might use a little brown too, or orange. Maybe not orange, but maybe some brown. But I'll call them out as I use them. So really what I'm looking to do is I'm going to be putting some shadow underneath my bird, so it looks like it's kind of, you know, nestled on this carrot and there's some shadow underneath it. I'll put a little shadow underneath the wings, maybe a little bit on the back side of the head, a little bit in the neck area, a little bit on the back side of the crown, and then we'll just illuminate everything else so it has nice bright fullness to it. So what I'm going to first do is I'm going to pick up a tiny bit of black and red. So the black can very easily take over and you'll end up with a cute black bird if you're not careful. So just use black very sparingly, and if I'm scared you away from the black, use brown first and then go into black to make it darker. Because red can't cover black unless you paint it back a different color, white or something like that. So I'm going to start down in through here, and I'm going to just bring little kind of streaks of my dark color coming down into that tail feather, and I'm proceeding with caution, so I'm not going to overdo it. I'm just kind of pulling them down gently. I started a little on the slower side to make sure that I didn't have too much black on my brush. I'm picking up a little bit more red as I come down towards the tip of my tail, and I'll put a little bit more little brightness on the tip of the tail in a bit, but this is just going to get me started, something like that. I'm going to pick up a tiny bit more black and red so I can put a little bit of a shadowy area right in through here as it's meeting that carrot in through here, and I'm going to bring it up in these short kind of curved brush strokes that are going to tell the shape of the body. So I'm going to just kind of bring it up on the right hand side. I'll bring it up a little bit to the right in kind of a curved manner, and then on the left hand side I'll bring it up kind of in a left hand type of way. If you feel like you have too much paint on your brush or too much black, like I felt that was too much, I'm just going to wipe my brush off on my paper towel and pick up red on my brush, and that'll immediately help you to kind of dull it back down. I'm going to just, with the remnants on my brush, kind of just get this to blend in, picking up a little bit more red so I can blend this little shadowy area up the bird as I proceed with caution, going up with my red and a tiny bit of black. So red with a little bit of black. I'm going to do some darker feathers on this back side. And when I'm doing these feathers, I'm just always concentrating on what direction would they be kind of falling on that bird. So for me, on this back side, they're just kind of falling in a downward type of motion. I'm going to have a little bit of darkness in through here. So I have a tiny bit of black plus my red on my brush right now just to get a little bit of darkness in there. And I think I need a little bit more, so I just picked up a tiny bit more black. I can always add more black. It's really tough to take it away, so I just am always proceeding with caution, maybe a little bit up in through here. So now that I've got that, I'm just going to wipe my brush off on my paper towel, pick up some more red paint in order to make sure that I have good red coverage over the whole bird. So this is going to be wherever I feel I don't have a full coverage of red, I am now putting that in. So I have little tips down in through here. Right on this chest, I'm going to put more red because I can see through it. I can see the blue background underneath it, so that tells me I don't have enough on there right now. So I'm just adding another layer in through here. So that's looking pretty good, and I'm going to do the same thing, especially on this little cheek in through here. Just you can even put it pretty darn heavy in that cheek in order to give some nice vibrancy. I'll put an even brighter highlight on it in a minute, but right now I just am kind of getting pretty heavy-handed with my red right now, so I can get some nice red to show up in my red cardinal. So something like this. I'm going up into the crown now, and again, just using quite a bit of red. So I can, the thicker the red is, the more vibrant it will be, the more saturated it will look, because it'll stop seeing the colors that are behind it. And I am going to get rid of that chalk mark, or I'm going to put some snow on it in a minute when we go to do our snow. So I'm just going to leave it there for now. So now that I've got a good coverage of my red, I'm going to start adding little bits of highlights. So I'm actually going to wash and dry my brush, because I want to put some nice yellow on here. So I washed and dried my brush. Now I know that my red is not fully dry yet, and I'm okay with that. So I want this yellow to kind of blend in a little bit with it. So that's why I'm choosing to use yellow and not orange, because I know it's going to blend into orange on my bird anyways. Yellow will help to counteract this from turning pink. So if you want to add some highlights without making it turn pink, you can utilize yellow to do that, because if you just go red and then white as a highlight, you might end up with a pink cardinal as opposed to a red cardinal that just looks like it's got some good form and shape to it. So it's just a little tip as you're, you know, exploring red options in your paintings. I'm going to put a whole bunch on this little cheek in through here so we can have a nice bright cheek, and I don't necessarily want it to read as yellow, so I am mindful of how much or how thick I'm putting the yellow, but I am utilizing it to give myself some good vibrancy. And then I would just kind of keep building and building on this. I would let it dry for a minute. I'll probably add a little bit more white before, or I will add a little white before I'm done. But right now, just kind of making sure I've got my, he's looking cute now. Sometimes they go through the I'm not so cute stage, but he's getting to the cute stage as we speak. So I'm going to put a little bit of white on my brush right now. Just a teeny, I wiped my brush off. I picked up a tiny bit of white paint. I'm going to just put a couple of little tiny highlights, maybe a little bit over on this side where my snowman is, maybe a little, and I'm just going teeny tiny bit of white paint. You could even use it with a little bit of red or a little bit of the yellow. I just really want to add just these little bits of highlights in through here, maybe above this eye, and it will turn a little bit darker as it dries. I will play with it as it dries, so that way it'll turn the right value for me. But this is my approach. I've got my bright area here. I've got a little kind of tiny bit of a highlight over on the side with my snowman, so it kind of steers the viewer's eye over in through there. And if you go too much, like I just did, just pick up a little bit of red and go over it with that. And then I would just keep fiddling with it. We're going to be using our large brush for the next step. So once you've got your adorable cardinal all nice and set, you can put this small or medium brush away, take out your large brush, and get ready for the next step. All right, so what we're going to do for the next step is we're going to finish our snowman's face, and we're going to put snow everywhere. So I'm going to be using my large brush. The colors that I'm going to use are brown, red, white, and black. So I'm going to be doing some little rosy cheeks on my, or a rosy cheek on my snowman. I'm going to add a little bit more dimension on the face, and then we're going to put snow everywhere. A little snow on the carrot, a little snow on the hat, and then we'll make it snow in the sky. So I'm going to start on the face. What I'm going to do is I'm going to put a little rosy cheek. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to be using white and a teeny tiny dot of red paint. So I don't need much to get myself a nice rosy color. So once I've got that rosy color, what I can do is I'm just going to dot it on like I was dotting the rest of the snow. So this is a time where if your lines were too big, you can just kind of dot over them with a little rosiness or a little, you know, snow, extra snow. I think I actually want a tiny bit more red so it looks a little bit more rosy-esque, so I just put a little bit more red. Yeah, there we go. Now we've got them nice and cold and cheeky, and so I've got this coming in here. You can even put a little bit down past the the little part of the mouth, something like this. And of course you could make yours lighter or darker than mine. Feel free to make your rosy cheek color, whatever color that you'd like. And I'm just going to kind of blend it out into the rest of the face. Then I just wipe my brush off and I'm going to start picking up a tiny bit of brown paint. So I just picked up a tiny bit of brown paint. I want to put a little shadow down under the front of this carrot in through here. So just a little tiny bit in through there. I'm also going to use a little bit of this brown along the edge of where my hat is. So tiny bit of brown over in through here. The reason I'm doing this is so the head looks different than the hat. So it just gives us a little bit more of a difference between the snowman and the hat itself. So that's just a little bit of another little trick to give you more dimension. So now that I've got that on there, I'm going to pick up more white so I can get the rest of this snowman. This is looking so cute. I love it when it all comes together. So now I'm going to pick up a little bit of white paint, and I'm just going to make sure that I've got enough white to cover the little edge of my carrot. So it looks like the carrot is stuck into the snowman face, and I can just take this white and kind of tap it out, make sure that it just blends in. You could even just do a light layer of this white on top of the whole snowman head. So just a little bit of white, tap it on your paper towel, and then you're going to get this nice additional textural layer on top of everything that you've done. So you can utilize that to, maybe you put a little bit of extra down underneath the mouth. So it looks like his mouth is popping out a little bit more. So you can have fun with that. Let me just put a little bit more over on here so I can have a nice consistent similar texture throughout the whole thing. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to add some snow on my hat and on my carrot. So I've got that. Now I'm going to pick up a tiny bit of black and white. So I'm in essence kind of got gray on my brush so I can build some snow so it looks believable instead of just white clumps of snow. So I have black and white on my brush, and if you're concerned about it going gray, just use a little bit on your brush, and then I'm just going to put little piles of snow up on top of my carrot like this. I want to hide the bottom of my my bird so I don't have to put bird feet on it. So I'm just putting strategically placed little pieces of snow in through there, maybe a little clump of snow right in through here. I'm going to do the same thing on my hat, little clumps of snow in through here. Maybe I've got a clump of snow in through here. So again, right now I'm kind of just using a light gray to get this first layer of snow on here. Maybe little tiny tips on the back of the bird, maybe little tiny ones just kind of resting on the edges of the bird. Now I'm going to pick up a tiny bit of white paint and just go ahead and put a little bit more dimension on that snow with a little bit of white. So that's how you can build that. You could even use a little bit of blue. So if you wanted to make this even more of a dimensional kind of element, you could use a little bit of blue in your snow. That'll allow you to have even more dimension on it. So that's looking pretty good to me. Put a little bit more white up at the top on these guys in through here. And I'm using the corner of my brush. You can use the edge of your brush, whatever kind of works for you to get it on here in these little kind of clumpy things. And then once you've got that done, I'm going to make it snow everywhere. So I'm actually washing and drying my brush so I can get some fresh white paint on my brush. And how I'm going to do this is I'm going to be putting some white paint on my brush and I'm going to be flicking it like this. So it's going to give me 1,000 little sPieces. You may want to practice on something first, like a different canvas, or make sure that your splatter zone is covered. If you have important things around you that you don't want paint on, now's the time to cover them. But I've got my paint on my brush. You can even tap it on your paper towel, whatever you want, and then you just start kind of flicking it. So you may get 1,000 flicks. You could wear gloves too if you're not sold on getting your hands as dirty as I like to get mine, you put the snow in front of everything because the snowman and the bird are in a snowstorm. So you want to put it in front of the hat, you want to put it in front of the bird, and I am just kind of really flicking it where I've got a million little pieces. Some people like to use different brushes. Maybe you use hold on, I want to get some of my chalk to go away. You could use your medium brush. You could use your round brushes to do this too. I just had some chalk that was annoying me, so I took care of it. But I'm just using my big brush because it's got these firm bristles on it and it gives me these million little pieces. You could even use your small brush if you wanted individual little pieces of snow and you wanted a couple of bigger ones. You could use that small brush and just do some of those bigger kind of twinkly ones, or maybe they look like stars. So you just do whatever is, whatever kind of snow is making you excited. And then we are going to be using this small brush for the next step. So you can put your big brush away, wash and dry your small brush, and get ready for the next step. And maybe wash your hands too. All right, so we are on to the final step. This is the final step of every painting, which is to sign it. So I typically sign mine in the bottom left or the bottom right. I think I'm gonna go bottom left with white paint. So I'm gonna just make it like it's a big piece of snow or something over here. So I like to sign mine with my initials, but you could certainly sign yours with your first name or the date or a symbol or whatever you would like for your identifying mark to be. It's totally fine. It's your painting. You get to sign it however you'd like. And that's going to conclude this painting. I hope you enjoyed the process. I hope you painted yourself a very festive image, and I look forward to painting and sipping with you again sometime.